Hey everyone, welcome back to devlog number 8, where I try to write my own RPG. So today I started expanding on the rules that I want to use for the game, but last time I talked a little bit about drawing on a map, and I want to just show what that looks like for a second. So this is a map that we drew, my friends and I drew, as part of a game. There's a lot here. A lot of this is very poor, very crude drawings, and we started this with just a shape and slowly added one element at a time as we told a story, and that's just made it really, really fun. You can tell that we started some things over here and just slowly added arrows over time to show movement, and there's a racetrack over here with a very highly detailed flag. But the important part is this was really, really fun, mostly because I can look at this and I can almost remember every single story we told here just by the very simple representation of what we had. So that's what I want to pull over into my game when we talk about drawing things on a map or drawing things on a mural. But let's cut over to that now. So what I've done today is put together a flowchart of how I want the game to be run and what are the different steps that you'll need to do. This was almost like a proto-rule book, I suppose, of how do you play the game. I've got 3 main sections: the introduction section, the character creation section, and the world building rounds. I can start on each. So intro is fairly similar to what I talked about yesterday. The goal here is just establish the tone of the game. What's in, what's out. These are rules I haven't thought too much about. I've just copied a fairly common trend of what I've seen other people do. I'll think more about these later, but it wasn't that important for me to think about because these rules already rock. Especially choosing this genre. The second step is around character creation. So I've been thinking about this a little bit. Do we create characters now or create characters later? I like the idea of trying to create some characters now just as an inspiration. My goal here is to create a silhouette of the character. That just basically means you have a bunch of people who you could easily pull into stories, and these stories are about fleshing them out and figuring out how they interact with each other, rather than trying to make something up from the word go. And I hope that's going to make telling a story or making up a story a little bit easier because you've already got some predefined elements. So the first character creation round is all going to be about setting up your mythological cast, so to speak. So we'll draw some cards to use as inspiration. A player picks the one that is most interesting. That card probably might have some other evocative words or to help a player pick what sort of aspect they want to lean into. And after each of these steps, I want them to draw it on the mural, so that we start with this mural with just one character that we add a couple of items to, and then another, and then another. So pick an archetype, describe what they look like, what power do they represent, or what do they have power over, represent that somehow in this drawing. What's their symbol or iconography? It might be, say, like a trident for Poseidon, in which case, draw that in as well. And this one I'm still working out, but who are their biggest followers? Is it someone who, say, the merchants might pay tribute to? And find some way of representing that on the mural as well. Again, going back to that other drawing for a sec, it doesn't have to be a good picture, but it's just one thing where you can look at it and go, ah, yes, of course, the merchants pay tribute to this person because I can see a little gold coin there. And then the sort of meat and potatoes of the game are the world building rounds. Obviously, the goal is just have fun, use this to tell a story, build a world, everything we've talked about so far. The core loop will be pick a prompt card, maybe 2, haven't figured that out yet. These prompts will change over the game to help steer the game in a direction. The storyteller uses that prompt to tell a myth. They can introduce new characters if they like, mainly with the goal of fleshing out the existing cast. So introduce their rival, introduce their lover, introduce their mirror or their emotional... mirror is the archetype I'm thinking about here. So use this to flesh out the world and to flesh out the relationship between your characters, or just at different aspects of your character that you haven't thought of yet or haven't told yet. And that's why we have these archetype type cards all laid out there, is so that you've got an easy list of potential people you could pull into a story. which I like as just an inspiration idea. The artist draws this on the mural, so you slowly have your main cast there and the stories they're involved with built up over time. I think that's super fun. The people, which I'm still workshopping that name, explain how that story is related to the culture, and the goal of that role is to flesh out the day-to-day world in like the physical world that you're building. The outsider, which again, I want to change that name to something like the reteller or maybe even the bard or something like that. Their goal is to show how that story is retold in other places in the world, what stays the same or what's different. The goal there is to leave some hints about what else might exist in the world. Somebody might tell the same story but focus on a different aspect of it, and that might say, hey, there's actually this cult over here, or there is a counterfaction or bandits in these woods who believe in hunting a little bit differently, something like that. And then the map maker, of course, represents that on the map. Story round ends. We do that for each player, and then once each player has a turn, we move on to the new prompt deck and then start again, where the new prompts push the story in a direction. Yeah, so that's what I have so far. I'm actually really pretty happy with this, to be honest. This feels like a fun gameplay loop, at least at a high level, and at least until I put it in front of some players to give it a go. But I'm happy taking this structure into a kind of playtest, and then what I'll try to be focusing next over the next couple of days is building out some prompts and some ideas for like these archetype cards I was talking about, or these prompt cards, and hopefully between the two of those, I'll have enough to do a playtest. That's my plan. Again, thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.